105.1 FM. I have in the studio with me my co-pilot, Mohammed Haseeb. How are you today, Haseeb?
I'm very well, Shaz. Thank you for asking.
Have you had a good week?
Yeah, it's been a good week. Week has flown past. You don't realise Tuesday's here again. It's already here before you know it.
You enjoy it so much that Tuesday comes by so quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As always, we would love for you to get involved. You can email the studio on studio@salamradio.co.uk. You can text and WhatsApp us on 077 45 278 978, or you can send us a message through Facebook. And as always, we always enjoy your interaction, and our guests always enjoy your questions, and I'm sure you enjoy their answers. We're delighted to have Dr. Asad Qayyum with us here tonight. He's a consultant ENT surgeon, and he's also the training program manager for ENT for the whole of the east of England. He manages 24 trainees and is also responsible for supervising and managing 15 doctors. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Asad.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaz. Thank you so much for having me over.
Thank you very much for being here. It's an absolute honor. We've never had a qualified doctor stroke surgeon before, so you're the first of many, I hope, inshallah.
Thank you very much. Very kind of you.
And I know you have a very busy schedule, so we'll get right into the heart of the conversation. What's it like managing 24 trainees and 15 doctors?
Exciting and exhausting in two simple words. But I think, as I was speaking to you earlier, managing individuals or human factors, it's one of those things, either you have it or you don't have it. And if you think you have the skill to manage individuals, then you can always improve and brush upon it. The most important thing here is that when we're managing trainees or doctors or colleagues, the most important thing is to realize that we are not, when we are supervising them, we are actually not controlling them. We are supporting them in the role that they are playing within the organization, highlighting their weaknesses to them, and highlighting their own strengths in order to support them achieve their goals. And the most important thing there is to make sure that every individual who has self-respect, and to make sure that we do not trespass individuals' self-respect, so that you have them fully emotionally and professionally on your side.
That's a very good point, but obviously having 24 trainees and 15 doctors with different personalities, how do you manage to kind of very quickly understand what type of personality they are and how to then talk to them and communicate and connect with them on that particular level?
So from the trainees' perspective, the thing is, whenever we meet trainees, there is a record of their training progress, which is online. And as in my role as the Deputy Training Program Director, I have access to that. And in that training log of theirs, there is a regular input of the trainees themselves, as well as their trainers. And reviewing that, you can easily see how proactive a trainee is, how responsible a trainee is, and how well the supervisor thinks of the trainee's individual independent progress and how they're coming along. Once you see that, you're in a reasonably good position to know where does the trainee comes from, where does the trainee stand, and how well you can deal with them. The ones who come with a baggage, that is highlighted in their training progress report somewhere along the line, once or more, and you know where the weaknesses are and how you need to approach them. And by and large, there are protocols within the management guidelines, within the training guidelines, which tell us how we can approach these matters. And also there are governing bodies who are overlooking and making sure that we are on the right path. And if we are not, we are told to improve upon our own performance, because at the end of the day, I think I look at it and think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has presented me with this position of authority and responsibility. And if I am in that position, I have to make sure I do not abuse that position and I do not abuse the people sitting in front of me. So I think if one has this in front of them, it's easier to follow the path straight and narrow.
And what about when you have an excellent trainee, so you can see that they are going to become a star doctor or a surgeon, and they're really going to progress, they're picking up things very quickly, they're really good at their job, but perhaps their behavior and discipline isn't as good as it should be. How do you deal with that?
So that's a very that's not an uncommon scenario. That happens very easily. And when trainees are naive, they think that people can't see through that. And the approach I was told once, I'll share this with you and your listeners. When I was a junior trainee, first year as my registrar trainee, one of my consultants put me straight on within the first 6 months of the job, and he wrote to me, and I still have that paper which sits on my desk, which says a little bit of humility will go a long way. So I use pretty much similar strategy, and I sit them down, I explain to them what their strengths are, then I highlight what their weaknesses are, and because of their weaknesses of personality or attitudes, what effect they're having on people. Because as long as you inform the trainees and other doctors, telling them that, look, you are a human being first, a surgeon, and then a human being at the end of the day. And you will not be remembered for the work that you've done, because there are others who can do better. What you will be remembered for is how people perceive you, how well you are to them, how kind you are to them. And by and large, I have never come across a trainee who hasn't taken that on board. They usually take it on board because they are quite sharp individuals. And they do want to improve upon themselves. I've yet to come across someone who hasn't taken that on board. Some take a little longer than others, but they do improve.
That's good advice. And if somebody has just become a supervisor or a manager and they are looking to excel, what would your advice be to them?
So, supervisor or a manager, in any role, I think the first and foremost thing that the individual has to do is first go and inquire and read as to what your responsibilities of the position are and what is expected out of you. The second thing is to make sure that you have discipline, because you can't be a good manager if you can't organize your working day correctly and aptly. The third thing is you have to then highlight and see who your team members are, what your team involves, who are the people who form your team, and try to identify the individual strengths and weaknesses of the team, and then manage them accordingly. And I think also you have to set some long-term goals for the team and some short-term goals, how you're going to help them achieve those long-term goals, because short-term goals which are successful act as positive reinforcement of the idea that you're on the right track. I mean, these are roughly the principles that I follow, which help me improve upon my performance. But along with that, I'm a firm believer I never bring work back home. So the work that I'm supposed to finish off at my workplace, I ensure that I finish it off, because home time is for my family. And I don't think I can be a good manager if I do not have a happy family on my side.
And thinking about those goals, how often do you review them with your trainees?
Officially, we are supposed to review them at the start of the job. So you give them their goals. Once in the midterm to make sure they're walking and they are on the right path. And then at the end of the job. But those are the official markers that we have to fulfill. But in all honesty, we usually meet up with them a lot more. Some require meeting more often, who are less responsible or immature or junior. Others who are more responsible or more driven, you can meet them probably once every 2 or 3 months, just to make sure they're on the right track.
And the goals that you set, are they set by you, or do you sit down with them and collectively decide on what those goals should be?
So as far as surgical and clinical goals are concerned, They are set by the Royal College of Surgeons in the surgical curriculum as to, in first year of training, what is expected, in the second year of training, what's expected, in the third year of training, what's expected, and so on and so forth. So that's the basic guidance. But along with that comes what the trainee has achieved in the previous year, what baggage they are coming with, in the sense, do they have some weaknesses, do they have some lacunae? And then you have to focus the goals around them. So from my perspective, I set out a surgical goal for them. What we aim to achieve by the end of the year, what procedures can they do independently? Clinically, what clinics they are able to run independently by the end of the year with minimal supervision. I want all my trainees to have at least audit of one medical procedure or activity that they have to complete, and all my trainees have to at least have one academic publication, ideally accepted before the end of the year from the current job, to ensure that as far as the research side or achieving new knowledge or all of that aspects are concerned, they are not left empty on that front. But these are the four basic ones. But along with that, I encourage them to go on a couple of courses, and as well as one national or international presentation. So quite a big target, but so far, alhamdulillah, I don't think we've had any trainees who've been marked down upon the fact that these criteria haven't been met.
So from what you've said, you have very specific goals which are measurable, attainable, relevant and time bound, in terms of these need to be done in the next 3 months, 6 months, or the next 12 months. And I think that probably helps them to focus and hone in on those particular goals. How much time do you spend on managing people, and how much time do you spend on doing the job which you qualified to do?
That's a difficult one. So I have measurably, let's put it like this, we are supposed to do a minimum of 6 direct clinical care sessions a week. I'm contracted to do that, which one session means a morning or an afternoon. So I'm supposed to do that, the minimum. And the rest of the time that I get, which are the other sessions in the middle, they are then balanced out in doing the managerial side of the things.
And as a supervisor, we have a question from Sakina, which is, how do you as a supervisor support trainees who are females and mothers who have young children at home who aspire to become a qualified surgeon just as you are, but in the process become quite stressed at home due to their own individual circumstances with family life? What do you do to support them?
So, sister, Assalamu alaikum. First thing I'd like to say to you is that I know this and I've experienced this firsthand. Both my wife and I were training as doctors pretty much at the same time, and we had a young family. We had alhamdulillah, we have 4 children between the two of us. Our eldest is 11. So you can clearly see that majority of our training life was spent with kids around us. So I'm very sympathetic towards that fact. And essentially, as far as the deanery is concerned, the colleges are concerned, they have special measures, special concessions for mothers. You are allowed to go part-time. Deanery recognizes it. Our hospitals recognize this. We provide and we are able to organize a timetable according to the trainees who are mothers, who are females, or who have other responsibilities. We work around that to ensure that. The only thing from that aspect is that what we expect out of our trainees is to be organized, to let us know in advance of when their requirements are, when they're not supposed to be at work, when they want to go away for whatever reasons they are. And we try to work around and support all our trainees. There are locums who can be employed, and we have in our organization employed locum staff in the past to support females, to support ladies especially who have young families and have to leave earlier than expected for various reasons. So it's all doable. It's a matter of coming and speaking to your educational supervisor in advance, your clinical supervisor in advance, so that the department services are not are not affected because we want to support your career progression.
And Dr. Asad, you've done a fantastic job in saving my good sister and your wife, Dr. Shabina, because when you said I have first-hand experience, I thought you were going to share with us that you're a part-time mum. But you very quickly put that into perspective. So you've done a fantastic job there. Another good question we have from we have a very light-hearted.
It's good. It is good.
Another question from Fiaz, who always asks very intelligent questions and is a regular contributor to the show, says, in his experience, why is it that some doctors and surgeons working in the private sector tend to work very efficiently when they're in the private sector, but when they're working for the NHS, they don't seem to be as efficient?
Brother Fiaz, that's a fantastic question that you've asked us. I don't know where to start this because I can speak about this all the time. I've spoken about this all the time, and I can go on talking about this all night long, and I will still have more to say. I think the difference between private and National Health Service is that National Health Service is a far, far, far bigger organization than the private health sector. We see roughly 4 to 5 times more patients in a year than we see in the private sector. We are a lot more autonomous on the private sector than we are on the national health, because in order to run a ship of that size, you need a lot more staff or crew to run that ship, and it needs a lot more organization. In the private sector, because of the sheer size of smaller size, things can be changed at the last minute. In the national health, it doesn't happen. In fact, only recently we were having a chat in one of our meetings and saying that why can't we run our services the way they run in private sector, where different surgeons can utilize different theatre times at different times of the day with different specialties. Whoever has a smaller slot can come in. But we realize it doesn't work like that, because it's an entire hospital with hundreds of doctors working together in doing different jobs. And if we do not follow a schedule the way we should be following it, sometimes it can actually act as obstructive. It's like going on a very busy road with lots of intersections and switch the traffic lights off, and what happens? Chaos. So in order to compare that to a freeway or a motorway where there's no traffic light and the traffic is flowing freely, that's roughly the comparison I will say, that analogy I will make here, is a difference between private sector and the national health sector. But it's definitely not because doctors don't want to work harder. It's just we work equally hard, maybe actually harder in the national health, but it's probably not as visible as you think it might be.
Okay. If you just joined us, Assalamu alaikum and welcome. You're listening to Salaam Radio on 106.2 FM and Inspire FM on 105.1 FM. This is the Empower Hour show, and I'm your host, Shaz Nawaz, and I have in the studio with me my co-host, Mohammed Haseeb, and we're delighted to be interviewing Dr. Asad Qayyum, who is a consultant ENT surgeon and a Deputy Director of Training for ENT in the East of England. And I will now pass you over to Haseeb, because I know he has a whole host of questions.
Thank you, Shaz. Thanks very much. Just like to ask you, was a journey to become a surgeon, was it something that you thought of at an early age? And also education, was it all based in England or was it around the world?
My journey, it's very long. So I have the question whether I think anybody who qualifies as a doctor wants to grow up to become an independent practitioner, be it in the world of general practice or be it in the world of specialist as a consultant. However, some individuals' goals change intentionally, and others, for various reasons, do not proceed in the correct direction, or in the desired direction is the correct word. I was very fortunate, worked very hard to get, and achieve what I have. But I do think that I would like to thank my wife, Shabina, hugely, because throughout my years of training, if I did not have the support from her and the peace and comfort that I had at home in order to pursue and proceed, I probably would not have made it. And I think prior to that, in the younger age, it was my mother's danda that kept me on the straight and narrow. But
That helps normally.
but yeah, it's a long process, and you just have to be persistent, and you just have to be patient, and eventually Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants you what you aim to achieve.
So a message to the listeners: work hard, and you will always achieve what you want to achieve.
Stay focused.
Stay focused, absolutely. Also, I've read that you worked in Darwin, in Australia. I'd like to ask your experiences working in Australia.
Oh, it was a great time. That's 2010. I spent a year in Darwin in the Northern Territory in Australia. It was a great year because by this time I had completed my registrar training in the UK. I was there on a fellowship to polish up all the skills that I had achieved, and my interest is, specialist interest is ears, otology, and pediatric ENT. And that area is thriving with middle ear disease. So it was a great experience, not only surgically, because my mentors, my trainers, they were fantastic, but also management-wise, because over there you're essentially you can call it a sub-consultant, running the show, managing everything. And I think that was one job where I realized that I had management skills to manage big projects. And it was a great experience, fantastic experience, loved it.
So regarding the working practice, how you work there, assistant management, where you working now in England for the NHS, and you were working in Australia, what were the biggest differences that you saw?
So some of the differences between Australian practice and English practice are, in Darwin, the hospital comes directly under Department of Health like it does here, but where it comes to funding and a lot of policy making and everything, doctors have a much bigger role to play in it. Also, as far as funds are concerned, there are lots of individual organizations through which you have to jump the hoops in order to get the funding. If you have a special project that you want to do or you want to achieve, you directly speak to the central government, at times directly the health minister, to get the fundings approved. So that is not possible in this part of the world. That was one of the things that I felt made it a lot easier to make things happen compared to here. One of the other things was that we have a fairly, I would say, reasonable number of non-attendees when we have appointments where patients fail to attend. In Oz, I don't know how things are now, but then there was a very small, I don't remember the exact denomination, but something like $5. So if you do not attend the appointment, you lose out on $5, or you have to pay. And if you fail to turn up for an appointment without cancelling it before, you have to pay $50 or $50 fine, or you lose $50, something like that. Which I just felt that made the system run a lot more efficiently, and patients made sure that they attended the appointments and there were no failed appointment slots. Here at our hospital, we have a lot of failed appointment slots. My clinic this morning, I had 3 patients who did not turn up. Now, in all honesty, it affects us because we have huge waiting lists. 3 DNAs, as we say, did not attend appointments, means 3 patients who are desperate for help and waiting at home could have been accommodated. So those were the things which were the positive aspects out of it, which I picked up. And I think that's, I don't think that can be implemented here or not, but yeah, those things did help.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asad and Haseeb. You've shared some fantastic insights with us about your training program and how you support your trainees and of course your doctors, and I can see that you have a very challenging task, and I can also see that you've had some good and wide experiences both in Australia and in England, which we will pick up after the break. But the best point for me so far has been that you were a part-time mum at home. You've just hidden that really well, and you do realise that I will keep reminding you of that every time I see you. So I'm really glad you came on the show. Listeners, thank you very much for joining us. We're going towards a quick break, so we will inshallah see you after 5 minutes. Thank you very much for listening.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
I've just come out of Penny Appeal's orphans accommodation. Brothers and sisters, they've got a kitchen where they're getting fresh food cooked and served to them. They've got foster mothers looking after them. These are how orphans should be looked after. Sponsor an orphan for pennies a day. Call 03000 11 11 11 or visit the website pennyappeal.org. Remember, small change, big difference.
Sefa Turkish Mediterranean Restaurant. We're open 7 days a week, offering meal deals, cold starters, hot starters, house specials, kids meals, grills, burgers, fish dishes and desserts. Seating for families available too. We also cater for birthday parties and weddings. Sefa Turkish Mediterranean Restaurant. Great food at great prices. 349 Lincoln Road, Peterborough, PE1 2PF. Call us on 01733 566 565.
Iqra Academy is the only Muslim girls' school in Cambridgeshire where your daughter will develop her knowledge of Islam and the national curriculum in a safe environment. Ofsted has judged the teaching and learning, leadership and management, pupil behaviour and personal development as good in June 2017. Iqra Academy's qualified staff teach in small classes, and the school is producing sports teams who have a track record of succeeding at national level. With reduced fees and a good rating 3 times from Ofsted, why not consider Iqra Academy for your daughter? Enroll now to avoid disappointment. Please contact 01733 331 433 or email admin@iqraacademy.org.uk.
Do you have lots of clutter at home or in the office that needs to be kept but nowhere to keep it? Ivet Self-Storage offers a secure, affordable, clean and dry home for your belongings. We have security systems in place which are monitored 24 hours a day, ensuring that your items are safe. With a simple monthly payment, Ivet Self-Storage provides secure and tailored facilities to meet your specific requirements, whether short or long term. We offer the best prices and longest opening hours in Peterborough. For more information, please call on 01733 306 456 or visit us at Ivet Way, Westwood.
मेरा नाम आयशा है और मेरा ताल्लुक कश्मीर ऑर्फन्स रिलीफ ट्रस्ट मीरपुर से है। कोर्ट एजुकेशनल कम्प्लेक्स जरीकस मेरे ख्वाबों की जन्नत, जहां बेहतरीन देखभाल, आला तालीम, बेपनाह प्यार और मेहरबान शफकत हम सबको हासिल है। अब फेज 2 में 500 बच्चों और बच्चियों के लिए रिहाइशगाहें बन रही हैं और इसके लिए 9 करोड़ रुपए चाहिए। मुझे यकीन है आप मायूस नहीं करेंगे।
कश्मीर ऑर्फन्स रिलीफ ट्रस्ट 0300 123 774 court.org.uk।
या अल्लाह हमारे जहनों में इस्लाम का सही तसव्वुर कायम फरमा। या रब्बुल आलमीन हमारे दिलों में अपने हबीब नबी करीम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की सच्ची मोहब्बत पैदा फरमा दे। या इलाहुल आलमीन हमारे दुनियावी और दीनवी तमाम मामलात को दुरुस्त फरमा दे। या अल्लाह हमारे सीनों में इस्लाम की सच्ची तड़प पैदा फरमा। या रब्बुल आलमीन हम सबको नमाज पढ़ने, पाबंदी से नमाज पढ़ने और बाजमात नमाज पढ़ने की तौफीक अता फरमा। आमीन सुम्मा
सुब्हानल्लाह। This is Salaam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim. This is Salaam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim Community Radio.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. You're listening to Salaam Radio on 106.2 FM, and Inspire FM on 105.1 FM. This is the Empower Hour show, and I am your host, Shaz Nawaz, and I have in the studio with me Mohammed Haseeb. We're also delighted to have Dr. Asad Qayyum, who's sharing with us his experiences of the NHS. He is a consultant ENT surgeon, and he's also a Deputy Director for Training for ENT in the East of England. He also carries out private work and manages 24 trainees and 13 doctors. If you have any questions, please do get in touch. You can email the studio on studio@salamradio.co.uk. You can text and WhatsApp us on 077 45 278 978, or you can send us a message through Facebook. Welcome back, Dr. Asad.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying with us for the second half.
You won't let me go.
That's part of his job. See, last week he had a chainsaw.
And the boxing gloves.
We had Kit Habak here, and Haseeb had boxing gloves and chainsaw. So I think he's taking it easy on you. I don't know why that is.
The reason why I sit on this chair.
Yeah.
You blocked the door.
Yeah. You see, I couldn't block anything, could I? So we've got to use him for something. We have a good use for him. Now, obviously, there's a lot of pressure on you working as a doctor, both in terms of responsibility to patients, responsibility to the NHS, or to the private hospital, or the private employer that you work with. How do you manage and balance all that?
I think the important thing is organization of timing, and making and preparing in advance. One of the things I look for is I usually look a week and sometimes a few days in advance and follow my timetable and make sure, look at my clinic list or my theatre list a week in advance to see what have I got. Am I going to be able to achieve that in that period of time? Are my clinics overbooked? Are my theatres overbooked? Are they actually underbooked? Because if the sessions are underbooked, I'm not being honest to my profession, because I've got to see X number of patients. There are lots of patients who are waiting to see us. Supervise that. Not only I look at my sessions, I look at the sessions of the other colleagues within the department to make sure their sessions are aptly booked, because and they are not overworked but not underworked either, because we have an obligation to our hospital. I think the other important thing is to ensure that the time I have for my training supervision from the deanery, from the hospital, the sessions I have for that, reserved for that, I utilize them to review the work of the trainees, have a look and see where they are weak, where they are strong, how they're progressing, how they're not progressing, and then email them and document all of that is happening, because they know they have to come back and report to us once every year, in some cases twice a year. And at that stage, if they're not showing signs of progression, they know they will be put back by a year. And if you're successively put back for 2 or 3 times, you can be chucked out of the system. So you're out of the training program completely, and nobody wants to do that. So there are measures in place within the system how things can be improved upon.
We have quite a few questions from our listeners. One is, almost 2 out of 3 young hospital doctors say that their physical or mental health is being damaged because of pressure from the NHS, and for some it's becoming a huge strain. What procedures do you have to assist junior doctors with all this so-called stress and strain?
I think the first thing, there are things within the system which are available for the junior doctors which they can avail. I think the first and the foremost thing that any junior doctor has to do, or any trainee has to do, is to reflect, which a lot of our junior doctors do not reflect. Do they have the strength to pick up or to pursue the surgical specialty that they have chosen for themselves, or the medical specialty that they've chosen for themselves, to pursue it? Because it's not a matter of a week, a month, a year, it's for their whole life. And we've had trainees with an ENT who would come into specialist registrar training, become registrars, i.e. on their way to become a consultant, and drop out because you just think they can't hack it. This year we've had 2 who've dropped out. So it's important for the doctors to reflect and see, is this profession for them? Do they think they'll be able to do it for the rest of their life? And if they think yes, and the hospital, the system is overworking them, then in that case it's important that they go and discuss with the clinical supervisor with evidence as to why they feel it is not working. Also, they have occupational health, which is there to support them. And if they are trainees, the deanery takes it very, very seriously if they feel that any trainee is under undue physical, intellectual, or emotional strength. And actually, the deanery has the power to take the trainees away from any hospital if the trainees feel that they are being overworked and pressured. And for the trainees who are listening, or if my brother or sister who's asked this question, according to the new contract which has come into place, on your individual portfolio on which you logged your time, you can actually, your job plan, you can actually put a complaint there to say that you are being overworked. And your educational supervisor, if you're a trainee, is obliged to respond to that and to take measures and actions as to why you're being overworked and what measures have been taken to make sure that you're not overworked and not stressed at work. And he or she will have to demonstrate that as well. So there are lots of measures in place. Just don't be scared to raise the issue with your supervisors, because you're perfectly in your right to do so.
Thank you for that. Another question from one of our listeners is that the Prime Minister has come under fire for suggesting that foreign doctors will only be working in the NHS for an interim period until more UK trained doctors are available. This, in their opinion, is wrong, because they believe that foreign doctors are the backbone in the NHS. What are your thoughts on this?
I think foreign doctors are the backbone of the NHS. I would agree with that. However, I don't think I'm in a position to say anything as far as what Prime Minister's decisions are, because the Health Minister or Prime Minister, if they take a decision, there is a lot of work that goes on behind it before they come to those conclusions. And the other side of the story is these decisions are change very regularly as well. You might have heard from the Health Minister today that they are opening up 5,000 positions for nursing staff within the UK every year, because there are going to be over 1 million more than 75-year-old individuals within the UK within the next 5 years, or up to in 5 to 10 years. So they are preparing in advance. Also, Health Minister today has made a plea that all EU workers who are working in the UK, who actually count to be more than 150,000 as of this moment, he's made a plea to all of them that they should stay back irrespective of, and they'll be given special rights to stay back even after Brexit. And he's made a personal plea to them that they support the system, they're the backbone of the system, and not to go. So what I'm trying to say here is that these statements do change in time. They're not robust, and they realize if they feel that is the issue, then yes, they will change them. But as of this stage in time, yes, foreign doctors make up more than 40% of the medical profession within the UK.
Thank you for that. Another question that we have regarding missed appointments is that one of the reasons people don't turn up to appointments is due to the lack of advance notification that people receive about their appointment. By way of example, this listener has said that this morning he's received a letter to confirm his appointment, which is taking place on Thursday, which is 1 day's notice, which just isn't enough to allow him to take time off work, or if he's got other commitments like his children or picking them up from somewhere or taking them somewhere. It's very difficult for people to balance that. So what's your thoughts on that?
So yeah, absolutely correct. You should be given ample amount of notice. You also have to understand that when I'm looking at the other side of the picture, because I can see this side of the scenario as well, there are patients like who cancel appointments at the last minute, and the coordinators sitting at the desk managing appointments, they just send out the appointment whoever's name is next in line. They do not know who is more important compared to others, because the ones which are urgent referrals or emergency referrals or cancer referrals are highlighted by GP and follow a different path. But for routine appointments, they just have an appointment, a tracking slot as to first come, first serve basis. So if your name comes up next and there's a cancelled appointment, they are obliged to offer that to you. However, as a patient, the individual, if they can't make it, say on Thursday, because the notice is short, it does not give them the right not to turn up. There is a number there, there's an email address there where you just drop a line or call them up to say, I can't make it, the notice is too short, and they're obliged to rebook you on another appointment. But that means that the person who's after you in the queue gets a preference, and usually we have patients who are informed a day before and will turn up because they are desperate to come and attend. But at least we don't have wasted appointment slots then.
That's a fair point. Another question we have for you from another listener is, with the age of the internet and online, more and more doctors are working with online or through online appointments with patients. How effective is this, and is this the future of the profession?
So the future, I wish I had a crystal ball, but the future that I think is going to be that any task which is performed in a repetitive manner will be taken over by robots and computers. So making an appointment is and any job where human interface is required, which changes like your appointment with doctor, will still remain with the humans. So I think eventually appointment system will get electronic, will be organized more and more via the electronic system. And to quite an extent, this system is available on the National Health. It's called the electronic booking system or electronic booking referral system, or choose and book as it used to be known as, where the patients have the facility to choose the appointment with the consultant at a variety of hospitals. So not just at your local hospital. If in the nearby town you've got a hospital where they can see you before your local hospital, you can go there. So those facilities are available. Whether all surgeries are offering that to the patients or not is a separate story. But yes, we have those facilities already up and running for quite a few years within the National Health.
If you've just joined us, you're listening to Salaam Radio on 105.1 FM and Inspire, on 106.2 FM and Inspire FM on 105.1 FM. This is the Empower Hour show. I am your host, Shaz Nawaz, and I have my co-host with me, Shaz Haseeb, and we're delighted to have Dr. Asad Qayyum, who is a consultant ENT surgeon. He's also the Deputy Director for Training for ENT trainees for the entire east of England. He manages 24 trainees and also 15 doctors. As always, we would love for you to get involved, so please do ask your questions. You can email us on studio@salamradio.co.uk, or you can text and WhatsApp us on 077 45 278 978, or if you prefer, you can send us a message through Facebook. Now, the interview this evening, Dr. Asad, is taking us in a very different direction, because I think I told you before the show, the whole purpose of our show is to inspire, motivate, encourage people, and we do that by interviewing professionals like you who can share their expertise. However, I can see there's a great appetite for people to ask questions about doctors and the NHS and how the system works. And as always, we're here to serve the audience, and I think it's more important that we ask the questions that they're interested in, as opposed to the questions that we think we should be asking in order to give them more information. So you have quite a few questions here regarding the NHS and the processes and training. But before I go towards those questions, I think an important question which people tend to ask me as an accountant, and I'm sure they would love for you to answer as a doctor, is that if they have a young child who's interested in becoming a doctor, what would your advice be to them in terms of discipline, study and work ethic and the things that they have to do at school in order to achieve the grades that are needed, those high expectations that are needed in order to get into a good university to study medicine?
I think the first and the foremost thing I would say is if you have a child who wants to become a doctor, support his inspiration. Add fuel to the fire. Take him to events which will continue to inspire him so that he does not lose his desire and his focus to achieve what he wants to achieve. I think that is very, very important. And once that fire is there, then you have to channelize it. You have to channelize it. You have to explain to your child that if you want to become a doctor, you have to remember that you will be serving your entire life in doing this that you are doing. It's not just for a few hours. I mean, my profession or medical profession is one profession that when I walk out of the door of my hospital, I may not have the tools of the business, but my knowledge and my skill set goes out wherever I go, and people can stop me on the road and ask me a question. So, an engineer may leave his tools and when he leaves the workplace, or a businessman may leave his business when he leaves his office. But I don't leave my profession. A doctor is a doctor 3 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock in the morning and 8 o'clock in the evening. So you have to work hard. The second thing is to ensure and make sure that you keep hard and fast with your studies. To make sure that you get the correct grades get into the correct universities, and then when you're at the medical university, work hard to see which aspect or which facet of medical career inspires you the most, and then follow that. That will be my advice, and I wish you all the best of luck, whoever has children who want to become doctors.
That's very good advice, and thank you very much for that. We have another question from a listener. And he, like me, I think likes caffeine, and his question is, with the boom in high caffeine drinks being sold in the UK, will this be a burden for the NHS in the future, and should these companies who supply these high caffeine drinks be held accountable for the cost?
That's a very good question, and I personally think I would agree with you that I think it is important that these organizations who are providing allowing these companies to provide high caffeinated drinks should not be giving them authority without responsibility. And when you give responsibility, along with that comes accountability. And I do think that if somebody has been given the responsibility to make financial benefit out of selling high caffeinated drinks, then they should be held accountable for the financial burden that is going to cost on the national health system, to which we all are greatly indebted to support the health that we receive. Let me say that NHS is probably the second or the third biggest organization of employment in the whole world, probably second or third to, I think, Chinese Army, Indian Railway, and then the National Health. That's the order.
And the American Army.
And the American Army, yeah. So these are the 3 or 4 biggest employers in the world. A National Health Service, there's nothing like National Health anywhere in the world where patients are provided transplants, cancer treatment, everything free of cost. So we need to respect it, and yes, they should pay for it.
Another question which we have, and I think you've kind of addressed this, but I'll ask it and I'll add a different viewpoint, is that training to become a doctor isn't a 9-to-5 job, and junior doctors are under so much pressure. What are some of the things junior doctors can do at home, perhaps, that will help them relieve some of that pressure?
So one of the things they should do at home is speak to their spouse of the stress and the pressures they have at work. Share that, because that is important. Also, the time that they have at home, unfortunately, your training does not end when you go home. So make sure it's well organized, and the time that you have to spend to sleep and recover should be spent sleeping and recovering, not simply sitting there watching television or going out. and then coming back to work thinking that you're tired. I can fully sympathize with you. However, I'll just give you a snippet from my personal training. When I was a junior doctor working in London, my working day used to, this is I'm talking of my own call. My working day would start at Friday morning at 8 o'clock, and I would go back home on Monday evening at 5. And if my colleague was on leave, sometimes I wouldn't go home till Tuesday or even Wednesday evening. So, yes, all the junior doctors have a lot of pressure and stress, but I can assure you, when you speak to the people from the previous generation who've gone through the system, they will turn to you and say, we've all had it hard. And just because your system is different than ours does not mean that you guys have had an easy life, but it doesn't mean that your predecessors have had an easy life either. It's just the way it was and the way the system is. And probably it's important because our system is there to deal with a matter of health, patient safety, quality of life, and we deal with that under the strain of emotional and physical stress, and we've got to take correct decisions when we are under stress. So it's a preparation for that. And if you think you can't cope with stress, then maybe you need to rethink. But that is my advice, that stress, there are systems in place to support you in your moments of stress. There are within hospital people who can help you out with it. Make sure you get in touch with them.
And this next question, which Haseeb is absolutely going to love because he just doesn't smile enough, and this is going to make him laugh, is from a Mr. Sadiq, who says that why is it that GPs keep giving patients painkillers until things get worse, rather than not referring them to hospital earlier? So they keep giving them painkillers, and when things get really worse, they then refer them to hospital.
I don't have an answer for that. I think you can ask that question from the GP colleagues. All I can say to you is that all the doctors out there, general practitioners, specialists, they all work in your best interest. I have yet to come across a doctor who would refrain giving any patient treatment for the sake of finances or for the sake of business or because of ill intention. They all want to support their patients, and I think that question should be asked from the general practitioner more than myself.
Then that's fair enough. I thought it was only right that we answered Mr. Sadiq's question, but you've done a very good job, and seeing that Haseeb is in a good mood now, I'm sure he'll want to ask a couple of more questions.
I'm always in a good mood. Outside work life, what do you do? Have you any hobbies to, as you said, relieve the stress? Reading books?
Well, I've got quite a few things that I do. It all depends on my mood. So summers are spent in the garden. I enjoy my garden and gardening. I also have enjoy photography a lot. So when I'm in the mood for the photography, I'll take my camera and just go out and take some pictures. What else? I've got an old car, a classic car, so I spend a lot of time in the garage. And my wife, she knows if I can't be found anywhere, I'll be in the garage under the car. So those are the things that help me take my mind away from work, basically.
And also, what has been your greatest professional challenge in your experience, the work that you do, that you remember? One of the biggest professional challenges that you had?
As far as the challenges are concerned, I think challenges keep on moving on. I don't think there's anything I would say as the greatest challenge. The greatest challenge is only a challenge till you cross it. And I think as doctors, if we do not challenge ourselves every single day, we are failing to progress. So I think that I can't think of single greatest challenge, but I can tell you the next challenge and the next challenge and the next challenge till you achieve it. So you've got to challenge yourself in order to proceed and progress and improve upon your own self. And in our profession, we call it appraisal, and we've got to show our appraisal, i.e. progress to make sure that we are meeting those challenging demands.
One last question for you, because and you'll have to answer it in 20 seconds because we're about to finish the show, which is, being a professional surgeon and also a practicing Muslim, how do you, in your work with your patients, put your trust in Allah rather than your own skills?
I offer Hajat namaz every single morning before I go to work, because without Allah's support, without Allah's blessing, I would not be able to achieve anything. Shifa comes from Allah. I'm just a mere tool to provide it through to the patient. If I'm not there, somebody else will replace me tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asad. It's been very entertaining from my point of view, and we got Haseeb to smile and laugh, but you've shared some fantastic advice with me, Haseeb, and the listeners. And listeners, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I have, and inshallah we will meet with you same time, same place next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, listeners. Assalamu alaikum.